is a state that exists for war. There is only one stable part of Pakistan, and that is its military. It is not its politicians, it is not its economy, it is not even its people, it is its military. It is a country that has defined its idea around the opposition of India. It is a country that has defined its idea around the fact that they must go to war with their neighbors because they cannot satisfy their own people. It is a country that for the last 78 years has turned itself into a single structure that feeds only the rich and elite who sit inside military encampments and who sit inside Islamabad and cares not for the rest of its people. It cannot disavow its military, it cannot disavow its defensive posture because that is what lets its elite thrive. That is what dooms its people to oblivion. Pakistan has one source of stability, and that is its military. India exists and has its defensive structure in the way that it does, because it must respond to the fundamental nature of what its neighbor is. Musa came up here and told you, oh, I beg for the souls of those Indians who are being ruined by the populism of their country. I tell you, I beg for the souls of those Pakistanis who have yet to experience democracy. Isa came up here and told you, oh, in Baluchistan, there are Indian proxies who weave terror, and there is nothing that can be done. I tell you, the reason Kashmir remains the most militarized place in the world is because of Pakistani terror groups that are funded by the ISI that prevent peace from coming to that region. Ahmad came up here and told you, oh look, our diaspora is so great. Our scholars travel, they learn things, they do things. But there is one country whose academic institutions rank highest in the world. There is one country whose people now lead the world's global companies, who stand across the world, whether it be in Africa, in India, in Asia, in Europe, in America, and stand as the CEOs, the leaders, the scientists, and the researchers that are pushing the world forward. And those are Indians. I do not stand here to hate upon Pakistan. In fact, it brings me much sadness. My family lived in Lahore before partition. Some of my closest friends in Oxford are people who will not be able to come to my house in India because they cannot travel there. There are people whose houses I cannot visit in Pakistan because it becomes a security threat. That is not the world that we want to live in. But that is the world that we are forced to live in. Because India's military strategy, India's defense strategy is not a response to populism. It's not a construction of populism. It is a response to the truth that they have known for the last 77 years. It is the truth that Pakistan will do what it takes to bring military action against India. What all three speakers on side proposition told you is that, oh, Pakistan is a great nuclear power that has exercised restraint. Look at us. We have been so kind. We have been so nice. We have done nothing. India is a global power. We have a nuclear arsenal that works. We have one of the largest militaries in the world. We have tanks and planes and troops that could storm Pakistan, but we do not. Why? Because we are a country that exercises restraint. We are a country that is focused on de-escalation. We are a country that has chosen the path of peace because what do we have? We have an economy that is nearly worth $5 trillion. We have a growing population that does not face the same unemployment crisis that Pakistan does. We do not have a country where the majority of our money goes to our defense budget because we do not feel the need to give that much money to our defense budget because we know that we can focus on our own people. We know that we can focus on our population. India continues to grow and India continues to thrive, but Pakistan continues to fund its military. So India must respond because when India is attacked, it cannot stay silent because their neighbors will not stand back. Their neighbors will not back down because it is politically infeasible. It is economically infeasible to the individuals who hold the money, who hold the power, who hold the politics in Pakistan to not have war happen. Because when war happens between our two nations, when there is conflict, when there is difficulty, it is not Modi's electoral prospects that are bettered. It is the bank accounts of Pakistani politicians and generals that most benefit. Those are the people who are most benefited by this conflict, nobody else. And civilians on both sides of the border pay the price for that. I am terrified of war between our two countries. All 6 speakers who have spoken in this debate have families in cities that would be the first cities to be struck if a nuclear conflict was to break out. Almost every analysis of geopolitics analyzes India and Pakistan as one of those weak safe points where nuclear war might in fact break out. That is a dangerous place to be. That is a dangerous question of brinkmanship. That is a question India does not want to face. Because India does not only know its potential, it is living out its potential. India is not a country that needs populism, because India is not a country that is suffering. India is a country that is growing, that is advancing, that is bettering its economy and bettering the happiness of its people, increasing in investment, increasing in startups, increasing in technological development, increasing in foreign direct investment, increasing in educational institutions. Why would we want a populist strategy that sells us defense? We have a defense strategy that exists because, unfortunately, our neighbors give us no other choice. In Hindi and Urdu, there is a saying, "Apne pair par kulhadi marna." That is what Pakistan have done. Loosely, it translates to shooting yourself in the foot. Because while Pakistan may be the greatest victim of terrorism in South Asia, they have groomed those terrorists. They have funded those terrorists. They have ensured that those terrorists have a home to be in. They have given them weapons. They have trained them. They have provided them with military aid, intelligence support, and directions into where to strike, how to strike, where to go. And when those terrorist groups attack their own people, then they say, "Oh no, we are the victims over here." Yes, you may be the victims, but you are the victims of the actions of your own elite. You are the victims of a defense strategy and an intelligence thesis that was devised on the basis of the fact that we won't strike ourselves, we'll have terrorist groups do it for us. It'll be far more convenient that way. What option does that leave their neighbors with? What option does that leave a state with that must look to its own safety? That knows that not only does it have a neighbor that holds nuclear power, but it has a neighbor that holds nuclear power and it is unstable. That they do not know who the Prime Minister of Pakistan will be tomorrow because they do not know when the next military coup will strike. They do not know who truly holds power, because what is the case when half of the industry of the entire country is owned again by those same individuals who own the military? We all look to the same vision of peace. We all look to the same vision of happiness. We look for a world where we can travel between both countries, where Pakistanis and Indians can watch the same movies, not just in theatres in the United Kingdom, but in theatres in Islamabad and Delhi. We look towards a world where this division does not exist. But for that, do not let side opposition dress this debate up for you in pretty rhetorical flourish. They have told you, "Oh, this is what we want. This is the future we look for." But India, Modi, oh, so sad. All these, saffron, Hindu-wielding nationalists, they've constructed this world where we just can't have peace. I'm sorry, only one of us has a defense budget that's almost half of our GDP. Only one of us has a country where people will come up and say, "I will sacrifice my life for Pakistan," because Indian citizens do not feel the need to do that. It is a simple world to look at why we have the defense strategy we do. Because it is not something that has changed since Modi came into power. In fact, it has been the same strategy that has existed for so long, and not right now. Rather, I was the president, no. And not right now. Because, quite simply, we have practiced the same thing. We ask for diplomacy. We don't want to be on the edge of nuclear war. We send diplomats, we have discussions, we play cricket. Look, if the ICC listens to the BCCI more than anyone else, I can't do anything about that, we're just better at the game. But we have worked to have peace. And it is only when we have been faced with nothing but threats to our own sovereignty, our own safety, when our own people have been sacrificed on the altar of this senseless, endless war that is carried on since the creation of both of our states, do we respond. And in those scenarios, how do we respond? Do we march the tanks that we can? Do we send in the navy that we can? Do we send in the jets that we can? Do we deploy the missiles that we can that actually work, unlike the Pakistani ones? No. We do limited surgical strikes. Limited operations, enough to send a message, enough to say, "No, your actions will not stand," enough to say we are a country that is willing to defend ourselves even if we have better things to do than deal with you. But how do the Pakistani populists respond? They don't respond with peace, they don't respond with kindness, they don't respond by listening to the message. They don't engage in good faith discussions to take this forward. So it is truly Pakistan that is a problem that we must first solve, to engage in a system where we can reach this peace. And that is what is most important to understand for this debate. India is a country that is growing, expanding, and moving forward in its path of advancement. It is a country that has not changed its military strategy or its posture, no thank you, Isra, or its posture in the last 77 years. It is a country that has simply grown out of trauma, difficulty, and pain. It is a country that has seen its fathers, its brothers, its uncles, and its grandparents lose their lives in a senseless, violent war. And the same is true for Pakistan. The same is true for both countries in this war. Because since partition, we have been ripped apart and treated as enemies. There is no need for this enmity. There is a need for peace. And there is a way forward to that peace. And it would be in the interest of any populist government, regardless of where it might be, to seek the economic gain that would come from the happiness of both of these countries joining their hands together in trade, in partnership, in development, to not waste their time deploying their militaries and their troops across their borders, to not waste their time engaging in this senseless violent war. But until Pakistan changes, India will defend itself because it has nothing else to do. I beg you to oppose. Jai Hind.